Welcome, Thomas. Good to see you.
Good to see you, Reanna. I'm really excited to be here. I haven't had a been on a podcast in a while, so this is exciting.
Well, this is exciting. Let's get started by just kind of give us a little intro about you, what you're working on now, what your background is.
Okay. Yeah, so my background is a little bit of everything. I'm very much a explorer. Um I love to try new things, especially being outside, being in nature. Um Creative. Anything creative, I'm down to try it. But my background has been in athletics and in environment. So I majored in environmental policy and um, just love nature. Um, as far as my creative exploits, I've done my own blog, my own actually two different blogs, my own podcasts. And lately I've been trying some new classes like blacksmithing, jewelry making, painting, and just trying new things. Yeah, it's an exciting year. When we decided, to put in a specific word for the year, mine was create, and I've definitely leaned into that. So I'm, proud of myself with that. So
Amazing. So, right now, you are taking the time to kind of explore. Are you working mostly on building the community? Because we have our community that we've joined in Fit for Service, and we're talking about all kinds of things such as creating a more beautiful world and kind of looking at the world through a new lens instead of just continuing to repeat what's been done so far. As we all know, that's just not really working. So you kind of mentioned some of that the other day, and I'm curious to know more about that.
yeah, everyone is trying to envision a better world, right? Everyone is in a coherent state that we all agree that where we are at currently isn't great. Um, and people would love a different world, a better world. Um, the question is, how do you go and do that? Um, and to me, that is by doing it by example. We talk about like the best teacher you can be is to just exist and people just witness it, right? So to me, showing the new world, showing that new earth, how that can be, is by creating a tribe or a microcosm of what could be. And I fully believe that it has to be, you know, everyone coming together and actually creating something that is sustainable and is an example for what the future could hold, as opposed to taking your lessons and then going off and making a business or, like we got to come together. That's how I feel deeply. So right now, that's what I'm doing is working on our community to get people on board. Before everyone can get on board, everyone needs to heal all the everything and get clean and get everything streamlined, which is the first and foremost thing. And so I have a gift in helping others in that way as well. So that's step one.
Yeah. And then people want to hear some kind of a plan, right? Because that's often people just don't do well with uncertainty. That's the human condition.
Yeah.
We're in the state we're in because of scarcity mindset, fear-based living, and that sense of needing that certainty is kind of what is stopping us from progressing into a new vision. Because if we want to create a new community that's kind of a model for the rest of the world, we have to go into it. Everybody's input needs to be valued, because what tends to happen in tribes is a hierarchy develops.
Yes.
Somebody will tend to possibly overinflate their abilities, their opinions of themselves, or they will get frustrated thinking that they are doing more than others, so they deserve more than others. And when we are requiring that a plan be in place already, and we're not even willing to look at the possibilities without that, that's just creating more of that. It's looking to somebody else. It's outsourcing our power and our sovereignty. Do you
Absolutely.
have people that you're working with that are kind of having this discussion already?
You know, I'm holding the belief of what is possible. I'm holding the belief of the highest goal, the highest timeline. I don't need to talk about it with everyone, um, but I want to talk with everyone about themselves. And um, ultimately, when I'm having conversations, it leads to healing on both. It could be me as well as the other person. And the more we have these conversations, the more we heal as a group, the more we start to be a cohesive unit. And then, and only then can we start being like, okay, we actually want to be around each other all the time. Like, we actually trust each other. We actually care about each other that much. And it would be really hard to leave this group. And, um, some people feel that, you know, yeah, it's great. But it's all like being in community is like a crutch. You want to be able to go out and spread this. But like we're not as powerful when we're spread out. We're just not. Like the the true power comes from together, direction, uh, a united mission. Um, that's like the lesson of the human race is our ability to cooperate and create a shared vision and build things. So yeah, it's one step at a time. The first is building the foundation, which is trust, faith, and cohesiveness in community. So that's step one.
Yeah. And I think you and I, well, the way we met was through shared housing at our first summit. And it felt like synchronicity, the people that came together in that house, the way we went to summit, we went through the exercises, had our challenges, faced our triggers, and then we were able to come back to the house and be triggered by each other
Yeah,
and have a discussion about that openly, without judgment, without aggression,
it was
and
amazing.
so healing. Right? That's how we come together. If we don't have this aggression, judgment, we're projecting our own wounds onto each other, which we're going to continue to do forever because nobody's ever going to be 100% healed, right? But when we can be in a group of people where we know the intention is to heal, is to be cohesive, is to be in a community, and we kind of know what to expect from each other when it comes to the triggers and the different things, it makes it so much less frightening for our nervous system to then live together. And of course, in community doesn't mean that we have to be there 100% of the time. We can travel the world and have other experiences and bring those experiences back to each other.
Absolutely. It's a new way of looking at a community that supports one another, lives together, does all these things. Um, it's it's just a new earth. It's not we're not going back to just living purely off the grid, off the land, not being in as a part of the rest of society. We are very much being conscious about this. It and we're recognizing where we are an example. We are the invitation. We are showing what is possible. So yeah, we're going to have to travel, and we want to travel and spread that. Um, so yeah, that's It's
Yeah,
exciting.
it is exciting. We had a discussion recently where, was it yesterday? I don't know. But where some members of community expressed interest in living all together and some were like, definitely not, right? And it's interesting to hear that perspective for me because as a mother and a woman, my experience has been that a lot of the work falls on the mother or the woman, especially in this kind of new way of living that has happened over the last 100 years. Okay, less than 100 years, maybe 60, where the women are in the workforce and then they're also going home and doing all of that other stuff. And something happened where the men didn't necessarily get the memo that everybody's working here, so everybody has to do everything, right? So and it doesn't mean that the women communicated it well, because often we do not. Often we just harbor resentment for the fact that you don't notice, right? That you didn't just know to do that, right? But men traditionally haven't ever done that, so they don't know. Um, so to not so when we had someone say, I wouldn't be interested in that because I'm living with my partner and my child, and that's enough for me, right? To me, I was like, well, you're the male partner, so are you quite doing everything, equally together? Do you know the perspective? It doesn't mean that he's wrong or that he's not doing it, but he may not know. And what I really find is that it takes a village to raise children. And so for those who have not had children, um, just living in your house with your partner and not having a strong community to help you, relieve you, like, so you can have date nights, so you can go on vacation with your partner, so that you can just have time
Yes.
away and let the children have influence of other people that are really healthy. Um, if you don't have that, your kids are only getting their parents' triggers constantly. And
Yes.
it creates, I think, deeper wounds in children that don't have a sense of community. For many people, churches kind of serve that purpose. And another area that I would like to talk about that, because my experience with churches has not been awesome, was that people will join a church and very blindly trust the members of the church with their
Yeah.
children. And so in a community like this, we're getting to know each other on a very deep level. We know what our deep wounds are. We kind of learn what we're capable of as far as shadow and light aspects of our personalities. And it's just it's a different thing. So I'm interested what your thoughts are on that.
I can't agree more about, I mean, I don't have children, but the fact that it does take a village, um, not only does it allow for a community to pool wisdom, teachings, separation of uh, activities and labor and roles. But it also provides an environment, like you said, for children to see all the different like types of men that are helping to teach you how to be a man, or seeing how a masculine shows up in different ways, and the same thing for women. You're seeing the full spectrum, and you're getting a lot more to soak in. It's just it like that's how we grew up. That's our ancestors. Like, they passed down wisdom, they had initiations, there was opportunity to really develop deep trust in your neighbors, in your fellow tribes people. Like, that's what we're doing right now. It's an absolute no-brainer as to that being a recipe for a healthy, you know, deeper, meaningful life. Um, and yeah, it's when you bring it up this early, it's gonna shake a little bit of people. It's gonna shake some people because a lot of people are here like, and I don't take any, I'm not pointing any fingers because everyone is different. Everyone has different paths. But in many ways, there's people, I would say you and I came in with less of a background in the spiritual space, particularly in the coaching space, in this area where you're helping individuals to grow. Um, and there's a lot of people who have a lot of experience there. And for them, it's almost an opportunity to, if they would choose to, come in and pay for themselves to go on this amazing experience, meet a lot of friends, and get a few clients on the way. Um, and that's just, and and when you're thinking about it, that's just a little bit lower of a timeline because you're kind of just focused on you and not seeing the greater picture of what truly is possible here with this community. Um, so I'm holding, like I said, I'm holding that highest belief of what is possible, and then slowly working on each and every one of us in the community. And it's hard to argue with. At least I like, you know, but I'm excited to see what happens.
Yeah, I am too. And then not everybody, I mean, some people really do want to live in isolation. So
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
I actually, on my spiritual journey, kind of believed that that was something that I was going to want to do at some point. So it was early in my learning, but I read one of Michael Singer's books. I think I'm imagining it's The Untethered Soul, but there's another one. And he talks about when he was living in the woods, meditating, fasting. And where I was at that point was very much burnt out on like the whole capitalist business structure that, because I had a background in I was a corporate controller. So I had climbed the corporate ladder and done the C-suite. And then I had started a business, and the entrepreneurial journey is intense. It's really intense. And so at that point, plus I was like managing the finances and the household and the kids. And I was just like, yeah, get me into the woods in a just plain wood structure, and I want to be in darkness and silence for, I mean, at that point, I was like the
Yeah.
rest of my life.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was
I've been
just,
there. I've
I
been
was
there.
done.
Yeah.
And then I was like, forget money, forget all this stuff. And holding that vision for a little too long, it did start to unravel my life a bit more than I wanted it to. So it was like, okay, kind of going into rest and understanding how to balance ourselves in rest, work, and play is of huge importance so that we don't end up going into some extreme
Yes.
lifestyle like that.
Yeah. I remember when I graduated college, I was it was a really academic school, and I was really challenged there, and also um, I was playing sports in the fall and the spring, so I was really just so swamped there, mentally. And at the end, once I graduated, I was like, just I took a road, got a car, did a road trip, and did this, volunteer program where I was working on organic farms and other homesteads. Um, but I literally chose the most remote possible places because I was like, I need some space to think. I need space to relax. But yeah, you make a good point. When people are already in that like place where they can't relax and they can't find balance. They may choose to opt out of a more maybe enriching and more, deeper, meaningful way of life because of that. When, but if you look deeper and you say, what do I want to be? I want to be someone that, you know, accomplished your hero's journey and your what you wanted to set out to do, but your all the weight is on your own shoulders to change the world, as opposed to with 200 plus people that are all aligned, and all you have to do is your unique gift and be yourself in that community, and your little piece, your magic is helping everyone else. And I'm getting chills because like that is the highest possible outcome. And there's just so much potential, so many beautiful people. And like you said, we are figuring out these people deeply and figuring out if they're trustworthy, figuring out if it's worth um, trusting them to live with them and have my kids around them and all that. So that's what we're doing. And the more we're communicating that, like we just keep speaking it, keep on this podcast in conversations. I'm just continuing to talk about that. And I'd love to move into a big topic regarding that, which would be finances, unless you had a topic to go into next.
I have one comment, but
Okay,
I
go.
think it ties into finances,
Okay.
which is that so many of us, because we were on that treadmill of pick a college career or pick some kind of secular job, we suppressed all of our other gifts so deeply that we don't know what we would add to a community like this. So, because you mentioned we share our one gift and it's, immensely valuable to the community. There are many people who would be like, okay, what's my gift? I am a stockbroker. Where would I fit into something like this? So, but yeah, from there we can go to finances because I think it's closely tied.
Yeah, another piece, like just to answer that piece and then move in. Yeah, our 3D or corporate job and old life doesn't seem to fit sometimes. But if someone comes to me and is having we're having a conversation about that, like how do I fit in? It just becomes a discovery. Like you just start to dig a little deeper and see, okay, what was so good about my skills? Like what really brings me life? What feels really present in my heart? What is it telling me it wants to do? Um, and you start to realize you have gifts that are interwoven into what you're doing now, and it's just going to become even more pronounced when you have this 200 plus group to test out these these different powers that are much more valuable when it's part of a big mission and there's people that want you to shine. So that's what I would say there. It just requires a little bit of digging, a little bit of soul searching. Um, and
Yeah,
actually
and
you have
giving
to
yourself the time and space to do that and not expect yourself to just know. But it takes,
exactly.
yeah.
And it's not like it has to be a gift that is like this skill that is translatable to the real world. Like I was talking to Darren about, he was like trying to figure out, his gifts, and I'm sure he would be totally cool with me sharing this because he's an amazing person. He was just saying like trying to figure out his place, and I was like, you're one of the only men, like probably the most emotionally in their body man that we have, just effortlessly able to communicate his emotions, be light on his feet. He's just like a shining example to show men how to be tapped in emotionally. And that's not something that he can make money off in the real world. He could be like a therapist for men or things like that. But how valuable it is for us to witness. It's just those type of things I think are important to keep in mind. Um, but
Yeah,
yeah,
we underestimate the the gift that that is to the community because we're so focused on how could that make money in the current system, and
exactly.
that's not always what we need or want.
Right. Right. In the future, we won't need it. We won't need money. Like, and this is leading into the financial situation. And that is there are a lot of people that don't have enough money to barely even afford to be in this program. Some people are um, really forced to work long hours and don't have time to be in their flow state, their creative place. They're not able to, they're supporting kids and working a lot of hours. Maybe they're a single parent. All these different things come into factor. Um, and and there's a sense of like, wow, like I'm breaking so much ground here um, in these meetups with community, and then I'm just falling straight back down to reality with the weight of the obligations that I have. And um, one of the things that I'm trying to hold the belief of and keep everyone on the same page of is in the new community that I believe in and that I would like others to believe in slowly is that my finances are your finances. My money is your money. We are all pooling all of our resources together because eventually it will all be ours. We will be sharing it all. We're sharing the space, we're sharing the resources, we're sharing our skills, we're sharing our gifts. So it's hard right now because we're still all in our own little bubbles of survival, but we're starting to show like when someone needs help, we're pitching in, we're doing that. Um, I think we need to get away from the thought of, oh, we're pitching in money because someone needs money to create their business and that like that's what we're doing. But it's really no, we need to them to feel safe, not bring in money for the community. Just them being with us is extremely valuable. And I think Alex is a huge example of that. And I don't know if we're supposed to be name dropping, but I'm just flowing here and he's just an amazing person and he's just holding the belief of tribe as high as me and if not higher. And he he definitely needs our support. And that's what that shift in the financial perspective with tribe is all about.
Yeah. And once you're in a community that is established that way, you can bring your gifts to the community. And if people don't have money to exchange, they'll have other resources that you might actually be able to eat or drink or breathe, things
Yeah,
that
that
have
actually
real
give you
value,
life.
things that because I think somehow people forget that we as humans made money up. It's not the only reason it has any value is because we decide it does. um, it's a social agreement. It's nothing more than that.
Yes.
So um, that's a really good point. I kind of lost my train of thought there, but
No, it's that's where we're headed. It just takes it just takes time. It's it's such a radical thought and it the only way you can think like that is when you have the time, the space, the resources. I'm not like rich, but I have enough that allows me to not be in a fear-based mindset regarding money. And also allows me to think about, I also quit my job. So I don't have like a 9 to 5 that where my mind has to be occupied. So I can think about what the ideal scenario is, I can just be on the phone talking to people, you know, giving them that grounding throughout the day that allows them to be like, okay, this is a slow process. I'm gonna get there. I can relax. So
Yeah. You can also have, the time and space to explore different areas you might want to live, to look at property, to visit other members, and to
yeah.
form deeper connections with them. I'd say the one thing that people would argue about or have fear around that would get them to stop the conversation would be, what's my exit strategy? If we're all pooling resources and everything is ours and I decide I want to leave, I don't have anything. So what's the solution there?
Okay.
And again, that's a fear and scarcity based mindset, but certainly there may be a situation. So do we come up with some kind of agreements or?
Hmm. So the agreement, I don't like. I don't like the agreement. It feels like you come in 2 feet forward. You every day, every moment, you are deciding to be a part of this community, and therefore you are willing not to just dump a lump sum into a fund. Like, no, you still keep it in your account. We're still like, you're here at any time you feel you don't resonate with this mission, you can leave. We are not keeping you hostage. That's not how it works. And, you know, if you're one of the ones that has more money than others, yeah, you might feel like maybe this isn't even, but like that's the old way of thinking again. You also have to realize that maybe you just walked your path a little bit differently. And now you're going to learn from all the people who were in a state of flow and sacrificed the saving of money. So they have a lot to teach you about surrendering, like having a better relationship with money, not a scarcity mindset, and they're just that's the beauty of the community. There's so many different people, different experiences, and you're just like as kids wanting a lot of different types of parents. As adults, we want a lot of different diversity of life experiences so you can figure out, how do I want to spend the rest of my life, learning from all these amazing people with all these amazing experiences that is perfectly curated for my next phase of life. And that's so valuable no matter how much money you have in your bank account. Like, people who have millions of dollars are looking for something more. And that's what this
Yeah.
is.
Yeah, often the people who have the most financial means are like, okay, well, this did not bring me everything that it promised to bring me, and so they're not that concerned. You'll have ones that are very much in fear about maintaining that wealth and that lifestyle, and then you'll have ones that are just like, I want more. I want the real life experience. And
Yeah.
I think in what you're saying, no agreement, keeping your assets, keeping control of your assets so that it doesn't feel like a cult and you're just, dumping all the money in and then everybody has control and you don't have
Yeah.
any, that makes a lot of sense. Also, we knowing that we are sovereign, powerful beings, we would know that whatever happens financially or otherwise within that community, we can always up level ourselves and move to another, we'll learn skills from each other where we could take it to a whole different line of work, a different community, whatever. So It's just an abundance mindset is that is needed.
Absolutely. It's a beautiful experiment where you're able to just explore yourself and how you interact in a place that has a high field of belief for what's possible and allows for a lot more than you thought you were capable of because you're sharing and you're collaborating and you're working together. That we've just seen the power of being amongst others, how much more you can go. You get help from the people that are experts in that area, whatever it is. Um, so I think about someone who's maybe like gone their whole life, maybe even have kids, and they're off in college, and now they have plenty of money and they don't know what to do. I think about that person who comes in and is like, now they have all this free time and they get to hang out with their buddies and like in this community. And like I used to like fantasize about being in a tribe for the initiations, for all this stuff. And one in particular piece, and that is artisan creation. And like so many different gifted artists creating their magic, whether it's instruments, pottery, clothing, whatever it is. We're all just creating sacred objects. Our homes are sacred. Like all these items create so much value, and they start to intermingle, and we're bartering, but we're just like, imagine being retired and like all your possessions are now filled with so much love and energy because you used your money that you saved up so much to now give yourself some time to just create whatever you want to create and give to the community in whatever way you want to do. Um,
Yeah,
so
with that, there was I think it was a TED Talk by a monk, which I don't remember his name, but he described growing up, I believe, in Thailand, kind of in a village, and they didn't have much, and everybody kept telling him, go to Bangkok, get a job, make a bunch of money, and then you'll be free. And so he, turned whatever age he turned, he moved there, and he was living in this bunkhouse that was hot, sweaty, dirty, with all these other people. He was working 12 to 14 hours a day, making money, but having terrible sleep. The food was awful. It was like 1 to 2 meals a day, and it was something basic like porridge. And he spent, I think, a year doing that. And he decided, why would I want to do this? There's no amount of money that would make living like this worth it. I can go back to my village. And this is what he did. He went back to his village. He spends 15 minutes a day tending his garden. He has a fish pond. They catch fish, they eat it, but they spend all of their time in community, talking, laughing, dancing, singing,
yeah,
telling stories. They're living in tribe. They're creating intimacy and connection and relationships and love.
yeah, with plenty of time for leisure. And there's this one article that like it struck me so deeply was I forget if you anthropologist Marshall Solins wrote an article or a paper called "The Most Affluent Society," and it was talking about different Aboriginal or Native tribes all over the world, and just the way they just flowed with life, the way they had very, very much plenty of leisure time, community building, rituals, initiations, a deep trust of each other. And man, when I read that, I was like, it just makes too much sense when you have something that is true, that feels just so true and resonant. It hits you in your body and you know it to be true. And something like that you can't ignore when something is said it's that true.
Yeah. And then I think another thing people would say would be, what happens when there's a disagreement, or we've done the tribal life before and we ended up slaughtering each other and going to
True.
battle and fighting over territory and fighting over women and possessions and whatever. But so we formed these governments and these societies, and we built stronger walls, and we built jails and judicial systems. And yet people are still getting slaughtered. I mean, it's less
Yeah.
less frequent, but the fighting hasn't stopped. And I think ideally the fighting will stop when we are, in community healing our wounds together, instead of coveting and living in jealousy. When we can be in those emotions of covetousness, jealousy, fear, scarcity, and recognize, okay, I'm dealing with a core wound or a part of me that's from childhood. I don't need to engage in any behavior that, as a result of this feeling, I can go to my community, I can talk about how I'm feeling, and we can work through it together. That's how we prevent
Yes.
these fights. And
Absolutely. What you, yeah. And this, this year has had a foundation on self-healing, on a foundation on becoming a better version of yourself and acknowledging your own limiting beliefs, places where you aren't free, places where trauma or other past experiences are limiting you from being a better version of yourself. And with that as a foundation, you're able to do exactly as you said. Um, I also I want to point out one thing that you mentioned was regarding fighting over the women, fighting over, mate. I think that's important to harp on. I think one of the things that we're starting to realize, and I'm sure we've known for a while, but like I'm just talking to some of the men, realizing that when to not have a scarce mindset, like we've talked about, like there are so many like beautiful, amazing women, um, and also to recognize when there is a true bond between one man and one woman, that actually makes the tribe better, and it's not taking away from the other man, because there's a deep sense of knowing, if you are in that spiritual place of knowing that there is someone, there is a soulmate, a divine partner for each and every one of us. And so if two people find each other, that just is better for everyone. And there's a lot of our past, in as far as men goes, in our past of like competition, just like always needing to find the best, like dominate all the other men, so then I get the pick. And that's just not like what we're doing in our community now is deeply building brotherhood and trust and love for each other. That's the foundation before we even approach like someone who we feel is compatible with us. We are so solid amongst our brothers that once that moment does come, it'll be just pure like happiness, and just so excited for our brother that finds his soulmate.
and also the recognition that because the men have been very respectful of the women in this container, and the recognition that women are sovereign beings that get to choose as well, that we're
Absolutely.
not property for the guy to decide on. Or I'm not going to use that word, that would be gross. Um, so
Yeah. No, that's a great point. Um,
Yeah, I think other arguments against this would say, oh, this is very naive thinking. You know, people have never been able to transcend their scarcity mindset, their fear, their um, I guess for me, I would say to that, well, we've heard the quote, and I don't know who said it, but you probably know. Whether you think you can or whether you think you can't, you're right. So
yeah.
if you're if you're saying that you can't do it, then you can't. If you can't transcend your anger, your sadness, you're not willing to try, then yes, that's you don't belong in this kind of community because you're not willing to do the work that is required to have trust and intimacy with other people. But there are plenty of people, and I would say that as children are being born, the more that we are healing as adults, when we then have children, um, those children are going to come through with more healed souls. They're going to
Yeah.
be able to have less of that anger.
The children that decide to come into the world will be much more powerful, much more healed, much more ready to bring bring in the new earth, because they know and trust that the parents and the not just the parents, but the community that supports the parents, like they know what they're getting themselves into, and they're ready. So I mean, I'm new to understanding how deep incarnation goes, and like, yeah, we're preparing for like some really powerful souls to come into the world. Um, but we have to prepare. We have to, we have to create a sacred, safe space so that they do feel safe. And because otherwise, it'd be really heartbreaking to have missed out on an opportunity to bring, like, it's such an important time in this world. It would be, it would be great if we had some pretty like powerful backup, you know?
Yeah,
Our children, the children of the new earth will really come in handy if we can provide for them, you know?
yeah, and also in having the tools that we've worked through, recognizing when we're inflicting a wound on a child, because you don't have to actually be an abusive parent to wound a child.
Mm,
They can get their feelings hurt by misunderstanding what you said. They take everything very literally. You know, we're not always going to speak perfectly. We're not always
right.
going to react perfectly. But by having the tools to um, actually walk the child and the parent through together, what happened? What are we feeling? To actually address, oh, this is what you heard. This is what I meant. And then, I mean, people so often don't do that. Like even in, I would say, marriages fail a lot of the time because I just assume that my partner meant that when he said that. It hurt my feelings, and I'm not going to say anything. I'm going to be silent and resentful, and I'm going to let that build over time, and we're
Yeah.
never going to resolve it. And we make a lot of assumptions about what each other are saying, and we
Yeah.
misunderstand the majority of the time, I would say.
Yeah. I love this topic because the truth is that, like, in order to get good and understand your partner or your friend or whatever it is, it requires a lot of time and effort and communication. So you have two things. You have the time frame that it takes to do all the, we call, circling, what really just is mirroring and then asking deepening questions until you find the root. Um, it takes a long time when we have a lot of things going on. The other piece is, how do you sustain a very vulnerable, emotional, and deep conversation without setting off tons of triggers along the way? And there needs to be so much trust so that the person who's being interrogated and is diving through their own psyche and their emotions knows that this person who's helping them is actually helping them and is not trying to like attack them and exercise their demons and like do all these things. They're actually, this is a safe space to like dive deep, let it all out, and then slowly there'll be less things to dive deep on because you did the hard work. um so yeah, that skill is the skill. Like communication is the skill that will elevate all of us. And that's something that that's one of my gifts. And I can hold so much space and just continue to talk and continue to be curious and ask more questions. Like, let's talk more about it. Let's like, and now that's what I'm doing, having 3-hour calls with people and digging all the way down, all the way down. And that's how we do it.
Yeah, and that's one of the main points of having a conscious community, so that we're not spending our time in stress and rat race and working 8 hours a day and commuting and, you know, driving. And then every time we have one of our family members in front of our face, we're just annoyed, dismissive, impatient, because they're asking more of us and we're already depleted doing things all day that we
Yeah.
didn't want to do. And we just want to numb ourselves, and we don't
Yeah.
sleep well, and we're not healthy. And so that's the whole point of conscious community. And, you know, you mentioned trust, deep trust in communication and in circling. You know, we are doing this with relative strangers in this community,
Yeah.
right? So we're in groups of 4 or 3, and we are divulging things we have never divulged to anybody because we have deep shame around it. And one of the things about it is, because we know it's a safe space and we know about the screening process of the members, we know that they're here, you know, their intentions are at least up here, you know.
Yeah.
And there was a freedom in being able to divulge this stuff because they're strangers, because they're not emotionally invested in what I say or how I feel or how I'm going to return to my life and take. But the deepening questions that were asked were just so incredible, also because of that
Amazing.
stranger kind of, yeah. So it's really very much possible. We know it's possible because we're doing it, you know. And I would encourage people to you know, open your heart, open your mind, and allow yourself to actually want what you really want, and stop telling yourself that it's stupid or it's impossible or it doesn't make money, so it's not worth it, or you're not worthy.
Yeah, that's what I've been trying to push on the community calls, is to start to like, let's talk about what your role, not in once we're in the community, but what your role is right now. What is your role right now in helping the community to heal? Because that is the first objective, is we all need to heal. So yeah, you're working on your stuff, but what is the magic that you provide to the rest of the community that allows them to heal as well? Because we talk about giving is receiving, receiving is giving. Like you're helping heal others, that helps you heal. So that's where I'm trying to push people to be like, you got to figure out what your gifts are to the community. And everyone, you know, some people are thinking like, yeah, I can coach people and I can do, and like, yeah, there's that old world stuff that's still lingering. But like,
Yeah.
I'm just so like, I'm just gonna give, and it's helped. Like, I'm leveling up drastically from all the giving that I've been doing. So I'm proof that that is a valuable recipe for success. So
Yeah. And the other tool that, was introduced by Jared was that spreadsheet that just had the columns for what you feel are your gifts and
yeah.
your creative projects. And then there was the column for the other members to reflect back to you what your gift is, because we don't always see it. If our mindset is still in that old world, that won't make money, so I'm not going to put that. You still have your community and your members to reflect back to you what you're bringing.
I
And
still have to fill that out.
you should, because it's really
Yeah.
enlightening when you read what they have to say. Yeah, but these are wonderful tools, and it's a wonderful conversation that needs to keep happening. And
Yeah, go ahead.
I just look forward to our next summit and continuing deepening the relationships. It's wonderful that each of our members is starting to kind of come forward and bring what they offer. So we're getting into smaller groups and getting to know each other more deeply. So even between summits, it's really helpful and valuable.
Yeah. Yeah. It was as much as I really wanted to be able to stay with you, Angela, LaShawn, for that, would have been the third time. I think there was some real powerful stuff that was created that I was able to be with Joel and Joseph, just being able to mix more, just really lean into it, and just keep having these conversations. I'm reaching out to everyone in our community that has a podcast, because this is the conversation I want to have. I really appreciate you and what you're doing. I've listened to a lot. I've listened to a few of your episodes, and they've had a lot of wisdom. And I'm also a wanderer, so love the title, and excited to see you soon.
Yeah. And one thing I want to touch on about that is I think it's really valuable not to form cliques. It's great to bond with a few people, but you can potentially miss out on some other deeper connections, or even it's just about branching out and getting to know everyone. It's so tempting, especially for me, because I can be a bit of an introvert, to just grab onto my core people and be like, all right, well, I could just talk to them. Like, I've done that so many times in different communities, in different workplaces, whatever. So that's something that I need to be mindful of, not to fall back into that pattern.
Yeah, as soon as you step into that uncomfortability, you become a leader within the community, because you're showing how to really just meet everyone, how to bring everyone together. That was my one intention going into the initiation summit, was to connect with as many new members as possible and make them feel like they did belong. And because they're here for a reason. And yeah, I think it really worked. Not just me, but others really bringing it. Like every single new member I talked to were like, everyone was so welcoming. And like, that was powerful to feel that they were truly felt seen, held, and like a part of the group.
Yeah.
Like, that's powerful.
Yeah. And it was wonderful that that could be accomplished after we had already kind of bonded everybody for 6 months, and to just have those fresh faces come in and it not flop and be a disaster where they all felt like they didn't belong.
Not a flop at all. And I'm just like, we did it. Like, I'm just so proud of our group that we were able to be that example, because man, if I was in their shoes, that would have been that would have been a difficult experience for me. And
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, so impressed by all of us, new, old, all of that.
Yeah.
It's just every day is just more and more exciting, more and more life in me, more energy, and my heart is wide open. And just this has been my dream, and yeah, we're living it right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Same here. It's just been total transformation. So
Clearly, yeah. So
yeah. All right. Good to see you. We're on our hour.
yes, it was great, and I would love to anytime hop on with you. So
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Much more to talk about.
yes, thank you, Reanna.
Thank you. All right. See you soon. Bye.
Bye.